Welcome everyone to the Divine I Am. My name's Lisa Huber, and we are here today with our special guest, Tina Anderson. Tina is the founder and CEO of TA7 Productions Incorporated and the creator and host of Unchaos Yourself, a 5-step breakthrough transformational process, live stream and radio show, podcast, and soon to be interactive workbook. That's awesome. Tina uses her intuitive gifts and what she calls her practical and spiritual knowingness to help others understand their soul's journeys and soul blueprints, what influences they are currently under, and how to make decisions with clarity and confidence so they can live truthfully in alignment and with joy and inner peace. She's also known for her inspirational and synchronistic angel messages, which she offers every Monday on her Facebook page, and her signature angel parties and spiritual gatherings. Sign me up. Her live stream show and podcast is about seeking the deeper meaning and significance of our life experiences. Her background includes 35 plus years in traditional wellness, along with 5 plus years as an intuitive counselor and spiritual coach. She worked in events and public relations, taught radio broadcasting for 17 years, and produced and hosted morning radio in Los Angeles, along with video, teleprompter work, and acting and voiceover, all the while using her intuitive gifts, but just didn't know it. She is now part of a giant wave of spiritual activators and disruptors for the greater good. She believes in more dancing and less dusting. Oh, I so relate to you, soul sister, and admits that her house often has a lot of dust. I love it. Welcome, Tina.
Thank you so much. Right? I mean, listen, if you have a chance to celebrate and have people over, share time with someone and your house is dusty, just go for it. People don't care. And if they do, then it's the wrong people. You know what I'm saying? It's the wrong people if they're looking at your dust and not. And so I totally believe, I really believe in that. And so thank you so much for the beautiful introduction. Sometimes when I listen to that, I think, oh my gosh, wow. Okay. Well, I'm a little bit older, so I've had a chance to do a lot of different things, and I'm really, really grateful for that. So yeah, let's get going into this. Are you operating, from fear or love? And is it, we want to make our decisions from confidence and from ease and knowingness. And this is one of the biggest lessons I learned in my own spiritual transformation back in June of 2014. And that is, am I operating from fear or am I operating from love? And I simplify it on those terms, right? Because one soothes our ego and one feeds our soul journey. One supports our soul journey blueprint. And we never go wrong, even though there really is no right or wrong in the spiritual essence, right? It's all just what it is. But one keeps us in alignment with our soul journey, and the other one gives us lots of moments for growth. And sometimes we didn't have to have those, right? I call them AFGMs, another effing growth moment. So sometimes we bring on those, but we don't always have to. And so let's simplify this and really get down into understanding how we can really know, is this based on my soul journey? And we have a few tactics, and we have understanding the differences. I'll do kind of some parallels for you. I really hope that in this very simple, practical, and spiritual approach, which is me, that you can find a couple good nuggets, a couple at least that you can take away, that you can use or think of right away if you're ever in that dilemma. And we're always in that dilemma, right? Because we're human and life throws all kinds of choices at us. And I want to start with a quote, really. It's from Marie Curie, and she's a physicist and chemist, and she was the first woman to win the Nobel Prize. And she says this: "Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less." And especially right now, because those of us that are trying our darndest to be a better version of ourselves understand how many people around us are based in fear. We see it in the news. We hear it. It's all around us. And some people are terrified. And that does affect us, and it affects the consciousness of the planet. And so if you can't get out of it even a little bit more, then you are part of the greater good. And I know that you guys want to be part of that. So There was, I wrote here, so I don't forget in my notes, a research study that shows, listen to this, you guys. I don't know if this is true, but I found a couple studies that said up to 80% of our choices are fear-based. We're afraid of what will happen if we don't make a certain choice. This is important. Instead of making decisions based on what we really want, we're afraid of what will happen if we don't make a certain choice instead of making decisions based on what we really want. So let's say that those of us listening here, Lisa, right, all of us, we're like woke, okay, in a good way, right? So let's say that we kind of got this. So let's say that takes it down to 40% or even 20% of our decisions. What if that one major decision is part of the 20% of your fear-based? Imagine how that can derail you. If even one major decision. And there's a lot of little ones that we deal with all the time. But when it comes to the big ones, we really want to get out of fear. And on top of that, in the Hawkins scale, if you never heard of that, it's really cool. Look it up. It's Hawkins, the Hawkins scale of vibration, right? Fear is at a vibration of 100. And we want to operate at love or above, which is 500. So if you drop down into a fear-based decision, you're not only possibly derailing something, not following your plan in your heart, but you're lowering your frequency. And what happens when we lower our frequency? We can get sick, right? And we can pull in other people at that same frequency, which we don't obviously really want to do. We don't want to obviously put ourselves in peril. So if you think of it that way, you can see how important it is to be completely aware and to have that courage and tenacity and fortitude when you need it, even when it's uncomfortable, which we're going to talk about. All right. So what are we really asking about with the question, is it love or fear? Are we running from or are we running to? Don't run from what you don't want. Let yourself be pulled toward what you do want. I wrote that here in quotation marks so I wouldn't get it wrong. Don't run from what you don't want. Let yourself be pulled toward what you do want. So when we're asking, is it love or fear? We're asking, is this part of our ego or our soul journey? That's what we're asking. We're also asking, is this our true self, or is this what we think others want us to look like, sound like, be like, look like? And that could be your parents, it could be your spouse, your friends, your coworkers, your neighbors, some sort of tribal pattern you brought in, right? It could be any of those. And then also we're asking ourselves, is this an escape-based decision? Am I escaping from something because I don't want to deal with it? Now, if you're in danger, that's different. So I want to clarify that. I'm talking about escaping and numbing out from our issues. Is it an escape-based decision or is it a target-based decision? Am I going after what I want? Big distinction there as well. All right, so let's talk about fear. Because we fool ourselves, me included. We're human, right? We're human and we get caught up in stuff. And so we're all a part of this and we work hard at it, but it's going to happen. So of course, first of all, there are life and death situations. The typical, the bears chasing someone. I always find that so funny, when the person looks back and freezes, it's a bear. And you're like, I would never look back and freeze, I don't think. I think I would be running. I don't know about you guys, but the funny cartoons, there's a phobia of heights or something. Those are real fears. You're walking down a dark alley somewhere and there's some strange, you get the hair on your neck stands up. Someone's around the corner, right? That's real fear. I'm not talking about that, but that does feel completely different. And I think that we can all recognize that kind of fear. That's an easy one. But when I talk about fear from decision making, here's one. And this one is very common if we don't even recognize it. It is fear of the unknown. We choose to be safe and to stay with something that's familiar, even if it's toxic, right? The unknown is scarier than what we don't like in the known. That is a fear-based decision. And the more you've been doing it, the more it's normal and it feels normal to you to do. It feels right to do. There's also what I've already mentioned. Fear-based decisions are very much in the what will others think of me? What will others think of me? And if that's been ingrained in you as a child, if your parents or someone, and I'm not knocking parents, I'm a parent, and I'm not going to drop the F-bomb. Don't worry, Lisa. So I'll use the F, just F. But as parents and guardians, we F up our kids one way or another here and there. We can't help it. We're human, right? And I mean that with, if you guys can kind of get the sense of me, I use a lot of levity and try to keep things light, right? We can't help it. We're not perfect. So you could now, or your parents could have kind of given you some, well, what would the neighbors think? If you dye your hair pink, what would your employers might not hire you, that kind of stuff. It could be anything like that. So that's a big fear for a lot of people. And we grew up with a tribal pattern that we felt or heard, or just was a known thing maybe growing up. And that's okay. Everybody does the best they can. And I 100% believe that. There's fear of failure, fear of humiliation, fear of looking stupid, fear of looking dumb, fear of being ridiculed, fear of being laughed at. And oftentimes that was one thing that was a pivot or shift at some point in your life. And it was so visceral. You just don't want to go back and feel that again. And you remember what that was like. I have several of those. I had years of body distortion issues, some bulimia, and an issue with an eating disorder for like 30, off and on for about 30 years. I'm 59, a long time. And there was one incident where I was walking down this street in San Diego. I just moved to California, and I had a t-shirt on and some shorts, and they were kind of loose shorts. And so I'm going to be really like probably TMI here, but if you're wearing tights, they kind of hold your fat in, right? If you're wearing really loose shorts, you're going to move around a little bit, right? And I was probably carrying about maybe 10 pounds at the most, but some guys yelled out the window, "Lose weight." Do you know how long that stuck with me?
Mm-hmm.
A long, long time. Did I make decisions based on the fear of somebody in my mind thinking that when they met me or saw me? Absolutely. Absolutely. Took me a long time to get over that because I was so young and impressionable and I already had other issues. All right. Fear of making the wrong choice or obviously the wrong decision based on insecurities and past experiences. Now, let me say this. If you've had a terrible experience in the past, I'm honoring that. I'm respecting that. It doesn't mean you will continue to make it. It could if you're not working on yourself and if you haven't grown and if you don't have perspective from that choice. And if you feel like, oh, I completely see what that is, I won't do that again. But just because something happened at one point doesn't mean it will happen again. You see that a lot in the dating shows like The Bachelor and Love Island, all that. I was hurt once and I opened my heart and it got damaged. I'm never going to open my heart again. Can't trust this person because, he or she, that kind of thing. Well, if you close off your heart to that, you close off your heart to all the joy. You can't close off some emotions. And so we want to be very careful of that fear-based kind of thinking. And just because it happened doesn't mean it will happen again. Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I just wanted to check in real quick and just reset the room.
Yeah.
My name's Lisa with the Divine AM, but you're listening to the lovely Tina Anderson. And if you'd like to catch her, she's live now on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch under the Divine I Am. Also, she mentioned about she has readings on her page on Mondays, which I will be there. And I want to mention I was bulimic too. And I totally get what you're saying. Yeah. And it all stemmed from an emotional, my fiance had passed away and that became what I did. It stemmed from that. I just had to tell you that. And real quick, I wanted to welcome again, Maite's in Clubhouse, Abir, Donna, Danny, Benita, Angela, Meme, Mike, Jaleesa, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We greatly appreciate it. And I see you guys on YouTube, Blueberry. That's T. She's always with us. Blueberry, love you. April, Stacia, Kate, and yep, Kate, I see you. Thank you so very much, guys. We greatly appreciate it. I just want to say thank you, and I just want to acknowledge them, and you do your thing. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Welcome everyone. And if you have questions or anything about this, we certainly can. I'll save some time at the end for this. Absolutely. And you're meant to be here as you're meant to be here and catch a nugget. And that's the main thing. I just want you to catch a nugget. I want you to take something with you. So, all right. So as we talk about this, recognizing this fear, ego versus love, soul journey, so you can make decisions with confidence. Our ego, as a lot of you know, likes to feel safe and comfortable and in control, even if we're miserable. It's like, fine, be miserable, but at least I feel like I know what's happening. This is normal to me. So too bad, so sad. It wants to be accepted, right? And welcomed, and it seeks validation and approval and admiration, and it wants to find something out there. That's the ego, right? Versus the internal self-love and acceptance that we have. And so if you feel like at times I really want to feel safe, and it's very much about the journey of codependency. It's very much the journey of narcissism. And I had with my coaching program when I was working live with people, it's the same thing, you guys, over and over again. I've been with someone 10 years. He does this to me or she does this to me. And, but it's so comfortable. I just can't imagine any other way. So I just keep going back to it. Right. And the ego is like, yeah, this feels good, even though it doesn't feel good. It's the strangest thing that we get into. So that's how you kind of recognize that. It doesn't mean you can get out of an ego-based decision right away or fear-based. But the first and foremost and most important absolute step, what you have to have, this is it, right, is awareness. And if you're wondering, am I clueless about this? Then ask someone you can really trust to give you the right answer. Check in. Am I going into some fear-based stuff? Is this, check in with yourself. And if you start to rationalize, okay, well, that could be a sign, because that's what the ego likes to do. Okay, let's look at warning signs of ego influence, which is fear-based consciousness. And once you start to see these, then okay, that's not the kind of decision making I want to be in. I don't want to be in that arena. I don't want to be in that energy. At least I'm aware. And that might be the first step, even if I make a decision. So that's the first. Okay. So we get defensive with our ego and fear-based decisions. We are not confident because we might be arguing with people or saying, but this is why, because you know what? He said he was going to change because she said that, and that kind of thing. So defensiveness is a sign. When we start comparing, complaining, or justifying or rationalizing, check in. Fear-based, ego, not your soul journey. When it gets judgmental of yourself or maybe others, and this is so damaging, especially when you're judgmental on yourself, when you feel that the critic jump in with a decision like, oh, this new job that I could take, I'd have to move away and I would be leaving my family. And my girlfriend, it's working out, but if I leave her, she won't have anywhere to live. And so, I'd be terrible. How could I do that to them? I mean, I would just be a terrible person. So no, I won't take that job. When your heart and your true decision is, yes, you have to take this job. This is the opening for you and everybody else will be okay. And you're criticizing the thought of even doing it. Super, super, super damaging. Okay. And if you're critical, really judgmental of others, and it's okay to admit that you have some judgment because again, it's normal. Again, I always want to say we're human beings. We're doing the best we can. So if you find judgment coming up, remember that. If you are making others wrong or right or good or bad, it's sort of like a selective biased perception that you put in. You create a situation so that you can make the decision right for you. If that makes sense. You listen to others who will agree with what you're going to say, and you don't listen to others or talk to others who might get in your face and say, yo, whoa, what are you doing? Can I tell you the truth here? Or I don't know about that. So that's kind of the selective bias that we have, and it's kind of built into us as humans, to be honest. That's why if somebody's super liberal, they're going to turn on media and read things to support the way they feel, and it feels good, right? That's typically how we are. And there, again, for me, there's no judgment around that. That's just common fact, right? But when we're talking about making decisions, when you make someone wrong or right instead of it's a soul journey and it is what it is, and I'm going to decipher what is best for me. When you start really going back and forth with that's a wrong decision. Why is it a wrong decision? If not taking that job looks like it's the right decision because you're going to stay home, because then your family you can take care of family, and then your girlfriend can still live with you. That feels like a right decision, but is it a right decision if your true dream and the next window of opportunity is the job? Then there's not a wrong or right. There's what is your soul journey? What is helping you with your blueprint? See the difference? So when you start going back and forth and finding people to support something that deep down isn't your soul journey, then we know that we're in ego influence and fear. If you're talking about the decision and you're unable to talk about it without sort of feeling hurt if someone says something to you, and you get, and again, it comes back to being defensiveness. If you get the hair kind of like, when a dog gets defensive and the hair stands up, just notice that. Notice that's a fear-based standing up right away. And all of these can show up or one, but keep them in mind. They're insidious, and sometimes we don't even recognize them. And they're not super positive. I know. I get that. It's kind of like, well, that doesn't feel very good, but just be aware of them. Okay, so I'm going to give you a quick exercise to do right now. If we're good, if we need to pause, certainly just stop me down and, I'll go. But we're going to move into just a really simple exercise, you can sort of feel what it's like and to make a decision. So I'm going to ask you, you can say it to yourself. I'm going to ask you this question. Okay, what's your first name? And just answer to yourself. Have you ever owned a pet? Did you drink water today? Do you live in the United States? Do you live in Russia? Are you a famous actor? Now, when you have a strong yes and a strong no, you can feel it. And if you have trouble with decision making, you need to start identifying how it feels when it's a hell yes or a hell no. You need to start recognizing, oh, yeah, I know how that feels. Oh, yeah, okay. So when I say to you, what's your name? And you say it with conviction right away, you're like, oh, that wasn't easy. I know the answer. It feels right, right? That feeling of answering with your truth. Have you ever owned a pet? When you answered that, you had your truth immediate. And you know what that feels like. And I want you to start with identifying that. How that feels, because that could show up in your gut when you're struggling with a decision and you don't acknowledge it, or it's there and you push it aside, or you go back to all the things we talked about, which is rationalizing, right? And explaining how, the yeah buts. So be aware of hell yes. And then when I say to you, and maybe some of you have lived in Russia, so I have to pick a different country. Sorry if I picked a country. I'm guessing Russia. So, or maybe you've been a famous actor. But if I say to you, are you a famous actor? And you're like, no. You just know it. It's just no. I'm not a famous actor. And it's a very simple, but you can feel it, right? So start to embody and understand and feel what a true, genuine, truthful yes is and a no as you're answering something. Because sometimes we're not even aware of how that feels. So simple, okay? So another thing that you can do, and then we're going to get into a back and forth, love and soul, fear and ego. I'm just giving you a break from sort of all the teaching stuff, like college professor stuff, right? And then we're going to go back into that a little bit. These are exercises. So that's one thing to do. Just embody what it feels like. So if somebody asks, and you have to have somebody ask you a question. It's great to have a friend ask you a question like, would you ever take a trip around the world? Yes. No. Maybe. I might take a trip. It depends. Okay, how does that feel? Right? And then have a friend or someone whomever ask you a question that you know is a hell no. Would you ever go swimming with crocodiles? No. It's so simple. How does that feel? It's just so work on that and be aware of how it feels and understand the maybe as well. So that's a simple thing to do, just to feel your body, to feel into your body. Now, if you're not aware of different types of muscle testing, you certainly can ground yourself first. And now, if you know what your true north is, and like, listen, this is where I belong, you can get into that energy first. But a lot of people aren't really aware of that. So I'm going to mention that as one option if you're sort of aware of your true north and where you're supposed to be in your life. And you can get into that energy, and then you can feel that first, and then go to the decision you want to make and see if it feels as good. So, but I'm not going to get into that completely, because if you don't know your true north, it's not going to help you. For those of you that do, or you can reach out to me and I'll help you with that. But if you can get grounded and do a grounding, stand in the grass or the sand barefoot, or simply put that beautiful golden cord, from your crown chakra to the center of Mother Earth, and connect it to a beautiful jewel in the center of Mother Earth. Bring it back around underneath through your feet chakra and all the way up, and feel very grounded to Mother Earth first. And then you stand there and you first ask your body, can you give me a movement for yes? And do you sway forward a little bit? Can you give me a movement and an embodiment for no? For me, I sway back a little. And you can test that over 2 or 3, 4 days in a row and see if you get the same answers. And then you can practice it with things that you know to be true already. However, you have to be in a very neutral zone when you start doing this. Make sure that you're not stressed. You're not overburdened or overwhelmed or worried or super tired. Make sure you're hydrated. And you stand, right? You stand just nice and tall. And then you say, show me, can this work with me? Higher self, is there a yes movement? And then if you kind of feel yourself leaning forward, oh, I got one. Is there a no feeling in my body? And then you feel yourself kind of fall back. It works for me. Now listen, I'm not a medical person. You're not going to use this for major answers. You're not going to use it every single day. You're not going to be in the middle of a grocery store. Should I buy chocolate cake or vanilla? And then try to do the muscle test of leaning forward or backward. We're not going to do that, right? Although I have done the muscle test in some interesting places, but you are, but you can start to play with this after you do the questions and you know what a strong hell yes, hell no is, right? And then you can play with some things like, would it be a good idea? Would it be in the higher interest, the greater good? And then you can ask the question. Or you can do something really simple like, I'm really feeling like the beach today, and I'm kind of feeling like I should get some more work done. And I'm not judging either answer. And that is a key. I don't have a judgment over the answer. I don't have anything other than an open mind, because either one will be fine. And then you can ask the question, does it for my greater good today? Is my higher self pulling me towards the ocean for whatever, or staying home? And then see what happens. And that can support decision making. And that is being more in touch with your body as well, which is super important. Okay, so there's that one. And then I'm going to give you another one that I used a lot with my clients in my program, and I use sometimes when I do readings and someone's confused about something. And if you're somewhere where you can do this, you can do it right now if you want. So wherever you're at, seated, if you're seated, or if you're standing, if you're driving and listening or walking, then you can stop. Great. If you're driving and you're just listening, you would close your eyes and you would go back to the grounding of that cord, right? Or if you're outside and you can get barefoot in the grass or the dirt or sand somewhere, that is literally earthing and grounding you to Mother Earth. It's incredible. It's beautiful. But we don't get to do that all the time. So if you do the cord, you close your eyes and you get corded again to the center core of Mother Earth and that beautiful jewel, whatever color you see. And it's a gold shimmering, maybe white cord, and you're completely connected. It's just running through all your chakras, and your shoulders are relaxed. And I want you to visualize yourself standing in the current circle you're in of life. So draw a circle around you right now. Whatever color you see, maybe it's a white circle, maybe it's a purple circle it's just around you right now. You draw it around. So it's around your feet, like you're standing in the circle. And then I want you to draw a circle to the left or right side of you. It doesn't matter. Draw the circle. Don't go in it with your mind's eye. And I want you to put in that circle a moment in time, an experience when you just felt so full of joy or excitement, wonderment, happiness, something where it just was such a wonderful time. It can be so simple. It could be, but a moment in time when you just felt that, oh my gosh, everything just feels so right now. And I want you to put that energy and that experience into the circle first. And then I want you to, if you can physically, it's even better, literally step into the circle right now. Take a step to the side, whatever you picked, right or left, go into that circle and feel that energy. That beautiful energy when life is the way that it is meant to be in your soul blueprint, right? Like, oh my gosh, this feels good. Then what you do with whatever decision you're trying to make, if it's 2, you would draw 2 more circles off to each side, kind of diagonal. You would put the scenario in each circle, and you would literally step into the circle and experience, taste, touch, smell, feel every aspect of that decision. You would embody it. And then you can go to the leaning, you can go to the muscle testing, or you can just stand in the circle. What does this feel like? And then you have to be completely honest and take all the judgment out, any self-criticism, any wrong or right, any good or bad, any prejudice from your past, any inner critic, any voices from your past that are telling you, and you stand in those circles in your truth, and you say to yourself, what is my truth here? And you feel it. And you will get hits, and you will feel the answers come to you. And if they feel kind of the same, then that's your answer right now. Hopefully you don't have to make a decision right away. But you're looking for the soul journey. And now that we've talked about the difference between fear and ego, you would recognize some of those traits that might come up: judgment, the self-criticism, the fear-based decisions, running away from something, numbing out, going to something that's familiar. Like if you step into that circle and you go, oh, yeah, it feels familiar. And you go into the other one, you go, oh my gosh, I can't do this, but oh my gosh, this feels so good in this circle. Why can't you do it? If not now, replicate it, find a way to pull in that aspect of your soul blueprint.
Tina.
Yes.
Excuse me. I am loving everything. I'm going to be watching this on replay. I wanted to just let everyone know in Clubhouse and our podcasters, please know you can reach out to Tina at TinaAndersonOC.com. She's live now, and you can catch the replay on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, under the Divine I Am. But I wanted to check in and let everyone know in Clubhouse. My name's Lisa with the Divine I Am. You're listening to Tina Anderson, and welcome to Danny and Angelique and Darchita. And if anyone in the feeds on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch, if you have a question, please pop that in there. If anyone on stage on Clubhouse has a question, please flash your mic. I'd be happy to connect you to Tina if you have any questions. Just looking, scanning. Don't be afraid if you have a question. I just want to check real quick. Okay. That looks like we're good. I just wanted to check in, guys. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Interrupt me anytime. That was perfect timing because we're done with the circle exercise.
Love
so
it.
You have the muscle test, and you have the circle exercise, and you have the hell yes, hell no. Mm-hmm. Right. And those are quick ways to start moving into confident decision making. Confident decision. Now, confident does not mean easy. Confident does not mean I can just go do this. Confident doesn't mean you don't need to be courageous. And I know you all know that, but I just want to say it. I want to acknowledge it. This whole week have been a little bit out of alignment. And I know immediately when I feel a stir, I've got to step back and go, what is going on here? And usually it's a decision I've made because I'm, for those of you that know human design, I'm a manifesting generator. We tend to go, yes, I'll do that. And then 3 days later, we're like, why did I say that? I actually don't want to do that.
Oh my God, Tina, so am I.
Are you?
I told you so, sister. Same thing.
Right? So this week I've had a couple of those, and I know better, just as you do. I know you know better. We know better, but we're manifesting generators. This is how we do. And you know what I have to do? I have to be courageous, and I have to sometimes turn around and say, I know I look like a flake. I'm so sorry. My design is to experience and try things. And I get excited and I see potential. I have an open aja, right? I get the universe's input coming into my, to my head all the time. I sometimes don't know if it's my idea or someone else's, and I got to do all of it. So I apologize for any inconvenience. I don't apologize for how I operate because I didn't hurt anyone, but I was feeling it this week. And that means I might have to have a conversation that, I did it again. I have this conversation. It's like, wow. But I'm learning, right? And the more that I'm true to this, the better I do at this as well. And the more that people see I'm being vulnerable and honest, the more they can be too with whatever the decisions they need to make. The more that I'm courageous and honest with however this looks to you, because I've had to back out of things, not something like this, but commitments to groups or some networking thing or something that I just realized later, what am I thinking, and I have to be honest about it. So anyway, it's not necessarily easy to make decisions with confidence, but the more you do it, the more that you will be able to do it with more flow, with your soul blueprint, which I can't emphasize enough, which is not your ego or not fear-based. Doesn't mean it's easy, as we know. Okay, so you have some exercises. Now let's have some fun with a back and forth. I love this. And so if you can visualize one column on, maybe the left and one column on the right, and the column on the left says love, soul journey, and the column on the right says fear and ego. So I want you to feel this as I say these back and forth. It's like two circles, right? So the first one is the decision when it's your soul journey and you can feel it with confidence is expansion. You go into your clothes closet, right? And if anyone else has had eating disorders, we know what it's like when you're in the midst of that, because your clothes are almost an enemy at times, but we won't go there today. But when you go into your closet and let's say you're in a fairly good place, there's expansion in your closet. You can grab anything. It just feels open, like, ooh, right? You're in that. You can walk into that and it just feels open. Your life, anything with a soul journey decision, there's expansion. It feels good, open. Let's say that you're walking into your closet to pick out something and it's based on fear of what someone would think of you. You're going to contract. Feel the difference. You walk in and you look at your clothes and you're like, I should wear that outfit because what would someone think if I wore that short skirt? What would someone think if I wore that tie with polka dots on it? So it's a contraction. It's pulled in. Fear-based decision is pulled in. It's contracted. Love, soul-based, soul journey. There's fullness, being filled up in a way, even if it feels a little scary. Like, oh, I'm going to take that job. I'm going to leave everyone. But there's a part of me that just, I'm just getting filled up. Or if it's fear-based, if you don't take the job, and for those of you that are listening a little bit later, I did a scenario with a fear-based decision where I created a scenario where there was a gentleman that had a girlfriend and he wanted to take a job and his family was where he lived and his girlfriend was living with him. And he wasn't totally, it was his girlfriend, but they weren't getting married. And he decided not to take the job because he felt like, what would his girlfriend do? Where would she live? And his family would be upset with him. But that's the job he really wanted. How do you think he felt thinking about the job and taking it versus not? Okay. So there's depletion and emptiness when it's a fear-based decision, when it's your ego getting involved. It's just, kind of feel depleted from this. Even if, let's say, one of the best ways to, the analogies are the narcissistic and the codependency relationships. I want to get away. It feels good, but I'm going to stay with this person. Okay, I'm going to stay with this person. I feel a little empty with that decision, but I'm just going to do it. That's what I always do. Okay. Now, love, soul journey is light and airy, right? It's light and airy versus kind of heavy and kind of dark around you. The energy around you changes. Your frequency changes. How do you feel with a decision you really want to make and you know it's part of your soul journey? It's a heart-based, passion-based decision. The lightness, even if you feel a little scared about it, the lightness, the airiness. And if the opposite, feel that. Can you just feel that heaviness and darkness around you? That heavy darkness around you? Yes, you can feel it. You're in flow and ease when it is passion-based, love-based, soul journey. And I like to use this term, which I got from someone else, and her first name's Trina. I think I can't remember her last name. I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at stuff like that. But anyway, it's not mine, but I'm guessing she got it from someone else because, it's all one big circle. But you ready for this one? This is really good. I always believe in being in flow, and I recognize flow. But what's one step beyond that when you make a soul-based decision? It's flow and glow. I love that. It's a flow and glow. It's an ease. Even if it's challenging, there is a big difference between banging your head against the wall, right? And a challenge that helps you grow. So that soul-based decision is flow and glow. Wow. And the more you get into it, the more you're glowing. Now, the opposite is this difficult, forced thing, and it's full of shoulds. I should stay because, my family, what are they going to do? I mean, I'm the rock of the family. My mom will cry all the time. My dad, then he'll be really upset. And I know he gets ulcers and he throws his back out and then it'll be my fault. And what's my girlfriend going to do? I mean, it's not that I probably won't marry her right now, but for now, at least I can keep her. She'll be okay there. And at least, she can get on and then I can take a job later. I should just stay. I can take a job later. No, right? You can feel the difference. I know it's easier said than done. I know it's easy to stand back and give someone advice and look at that than it is to do it, but feel it. Feel the difference. And then I talked about this at the beginning. A decision based in your soul and your passion that you want to make with confidence is always running towards, in a sense, your passion. Moving in, leaning into it. Right? With your passion. Now, if it's the opposite and there's fear involved, it's going to feel like you're avoiding or escaping something that makes you uncomfortable. And it's easier to just do what you've done. It's easier to just do what you've done, even though that circle doesn't fire you up. Like you go back to that circle, right? You have two circles. You go to that one. You're like, I can step into this one and do it. But is there a light under your fire? Is there a fire under your feet? You just feel like, yes. Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps, right? So there's such a big difference once you start to recognize this. And you can see it in other people usually way before we see it in ourselves. It's so easy to see that, right? So there's avoidance and escapism. And Lisa and I talked about both being bulimic, and now we're mana generators and mani gens, as they say. So we have a lot in common. When you go to food, as Lisa knows, we just want to numb out. We don't want to feel.
Yep.
So we get in a trance with food, and we don't even know what we're eating, and we can't even taste it after a while. It's just right. So when you're in those decisions, notice a little bit of that. It's insidious too sometimes. It really is. And then finally on this one, as we start to get close to wrapping up, I looked at the time. It's 4:44 my time. I love that. Angels.
Oh, I love it.
So the love, soul, purpose journey, I mean, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, this is pretty simple. Are you ready? Joy and fun.
Yep.
Joy and fun. And joy doesn't always mean happiness. Joy is that internal sense and compass that I'm on the right track. Happiness is a lot of the external stuff that comes with it. And typically there's some fun in there, even in the challenge. Oh my gosh, let's say our guy, we're going to call him Edward. So Edward took the job. He actually listened to us. He listened to one of you. You heard this and you're like, Edward, you know what? Trust me, you need to take the job. So he takes the job and he's getting frustrated trying to get electricity hooked up, and his couch didn't show up in time, and he can't find his keys to his new apartment, even though he's in there. They're somewhere in the house, but it's kind of fun because it's his soul journey. It's kind of fun. The chaos is kind of fun. The opposite is repression, suppression, and depression. If you're not in and on and around and running through and flowing and glowing in some manner with your soul blueprint, you're going to feel some repression, some suppression, some depression. It's just going to be there. You're going to have moments of that. And that's just the bottom line. Okay. So as we wrap up, what do I have here in my notes? Now we've talked about kind of what fear feels and looks like, what the ego, how it gets involved. We know the difference in that soul blueprint. We know that that's our calling. That's what you came here to experience. And we know how juicy and wonderful that is, even if it's difficult. We know how the ego gets involved, and we know that we want to choose expansion for our soul growth. We want to feel expansion, right? We don't want to feel like we're getting contracted into life. And so I've got the circle exercise, a little bit of the hell yes, hell no. Good. I'm looking at my notes, the muscle testing. And there's two more things that I want you to think about. And one is for confidence building and for ease in decision making, what are your non-negotiables in your life? I'm going to give you an example from someone named Chalene Johnson, who is an incredible marketer. She's with Team Beachbody. She's been in fitness forever. She's genuine. She's amazing in so many ways. I just go on and on about her. And she talked one day about decision making, and I'll never forget this story. It was so profound. She said, we have non-negotiables in our family that we set up, and for myself. And one of them was that I will be there for my kids' sports activities. I will be able to go to football games and track. I will be able to be there during the week. Maybe once or twice something comes up. For the most part, this is important to me, and it's a non-negotiable. Well, she got offered a network TV, like talk show position or something of that nature, something really big. Now, money, fame, imagine that for a second. Imagine that circle. However, she said immediately the answer was no. And why? Because she had non-negotiables, and it would cross the line, and it wasn't worth it because she had set non-negotiables. That gives you confidence in your decision making, even in the toughest of decisions. Even when someone's like, you are freaking crazy, you turned that down. That person saying that to you isn't living your life. That person is looking at your decision from his or her or their own filters, their own fear, their own biases, their own levels of what success is, not yours. Such a profound, amazing example. And you can see it stuck with me all along. So what are your non-negotiables? Because those will also help you make confident, non-fear-based decisions. So profound. I love that. And the last thing that I'm going to say here is there is one thing that I want you to be really careful of. And it's an old school OG, which I used, style of making decisions. And that is the pro and con list. Now, why do we need to be careful of the pro and con list? Well, what do you think gets involved in a pro and con list? Your ego. It's deciding, well, the con is this, the pro is this. Why? Because I'm going to look at the scenario from a strategic standpoint. Nothing wrong with that. What I'm asking you to do is go to your soul, your passion, your heart first, then bring in the strategy and what's practical and what can be done, or what needs to be changed or altered, or what you need to do, or you need to put something away for a while, or whatever it is. I get that we don't always get to just boom, go from A, B to C. Sometimes it's like, wow, I got this A.5. I'm in the middle. I have to do something in the middle. I get that, right? I totally get that. But what I'm saying is, when you do pro versus con, your ego and your fears are going to come in and help you write your lists based on your own biases, based on what people have told you. And so, as one final example, someone in my family made a decision that really rocked the world of the rest of the family members. In your family, when someone does something, we're like, you're doing what? And had this family member done pros and cons, it would have been very easy to see how many cons there were. The hassle that this person would have received, the negativity, the fear and doubt about what this person decided to do. And it wasn't anything dangerous. It was an adventure. And it's one of those scenarios where you talk to parents that are really into college. That was my dad. And the son or daughter says, I'm going to go travel the world before I go to school. And they're like, what? But you had to get a college education first, and you run out of money. And what are you going to do? You're going to come, there'll be a job, and right? And if had this individual really looked at the con list, there would have been a really long list. And it would have been easy to say, well, there's 7 cons and 1 pro. But the pro is my passion. So if you look at a pro and con list, it could be distributed in a way that is solely based on your ego and your fear and those of those around you. So be very careful with pro and con lists, which we used to do a lot of. I grew up, my master's degree is in management and leadership, and we used to do SWOT, right? We do a SWOT list, and we would look at strength, weaknesses, opportunity, threat. And that works in business. That does work in business, but something like that, when you break it down, you have to be very careful. But what's in my heart? What's leading me? Because you might end up with a lot of challenges, but you're not going to be led astray when it's your heart and your passion and your journey. It just isn't going to lead you in the wrong path. Might be challenging, might not be easy, but you'll feel it and you'll know, right? Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up now with this beautiful quote. And it is from Nachman of Breslov. And I love this. So I want you to take this in. Okay, you ready? I'm going to read it to you twice. Let the good in me connect with the good in others until all the world is transformed through the compelling power of love. Our journeys are love-based, soul-based. Imagine. If you're following a soul-based journey, then you can let the good in you connect with the good in others until all the world is transformed through the compelling power of love. And that is why our decisions need to be based in love for who we are, what we can accomplish, being of one with the divine, with nature, with Mother Earth and Father Sky, being a link in the chain of life where we're all connected, and knowing that we strengthen, we lift up, we fortify when we make those kind of decisions, even in the face of turmoil and angst and anger and frustration from others and bewilderment and misunderstandings and ridicule. It's a powerful place to be. It's not always easy. So I'm honoring you, and I am lifting you up if you're facing anything like that, or if you know of anyone, or if you see anyone going through that. Not to say you're making the right decision, because we don't know that, but to say I'm honoring these choices you're making. believe in yourself, feel your heart and passion, because when you do, it's for the greater good. And that, of course, is what I'm about, unity, consciousness, and the greater good. And I think if you're listening today or watching, the Spirit sent you here and you are also part of that tribe. And I know Lisa is, and she does such beautiful work in constantly elevating consciousness and the frequencies of the universe. And I'm honored to be one little aspect of that and here with all of you.
Oh, Tina, thank
Namaste.
you. Namaste. Oh my goodness, you hit me in my heart with that quote. Ugh.
I know, I felt it. I was getting teared up. It must have been you. I'm like, why am I getting teared up when I'm saying this? It must have been you.
You
I can
hit me in
feel
my
it. Okay, I
heart.
can't see you, but I could feel my eyes. I could feel the emotion coming right into my heart. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah. Oh my goodness,
Aw.
I love it. I just want to thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time out of your day in California on a beautiful day. I'm sure our day's ending over here. So
I know. Well, and my cousin's going to arrive any minute, and she's here from New York City. So I'm so excited to have her here visiting for a couple days, and
play with your new puppy.
yes, and I just love how we're transcending through time zones and places and all
Right?
connecting, and with all the stuff in social media and with all the negative stuff that goes on with reaching out and touching people in ways that aren't so good. This is where I believe our angels and guides and God and everybody they're rejoicing when we use it for the power of the greater good. And so I'm so honored, and thank you for all the work you do, because you're diligently, constantly doing this, and that keeping the frequency up, and that is really, really honorable. So I really applaud you for that.
Thank you. It's my joy. I do work nonstop, and I do take time out for family. Often I have to take time out for myself, and that's where I think everybody gets a little, but
I know.
Thank you again. And I want to thank everybody that joined us, that I see you still hanging in Clubhouse. Thank you so much, all of you, and everyone on the feeds. Thank you. Please check out Tina Anderson. Please check out her. She's at all of her information's under the website, but it's at www.Tina Anderson, ANDERSONOC.com. And again, if you miss any of this, please check out the replay on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Just absolutely amazing golden nuggets in your life today. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, everyone. Namaste. Take exquisite care of yourselves, and I hope to reach out. You reach out and say hi. I look forward to it. Lisa, let's connect again, girl. We have too much in common.
I want to for sure.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a blessed day, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.